We're a bit gun shy. Okay, 7 o'clock, and I'll call the meeting to order. The meeting has been duly promulgated, a quorum is present, and the meeting is thus duly constituted. Welcome home, Peter.
Thank you.
And first order of business, adoption of the agenda. May I have a motion? Second? Adds? Subtracts?
Just an additional reason to close the meeting.
Okay. That reason being?
91J.
J is?
J is information that's prohibited or information that if it were presented in a document would be prohibited from disclosure under section 21 of the Freedom of Information Act.
Okay, so FOIPA stuff. Okay. Anything else? Ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed? That carries. And there's no public present and no delegations, so we will go to approving the minutes of prior meetings. The first is the meeting of May 8th on page 5. Is this a fair and accurate representation of proceedings? If it is, may I have a motion and a second? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed and carried. And same again for the special meeting of May 11th. Do the minutes beginning on page 13 of the package accurately represent what was said, done, and not done? I believe so. Motion? Second? All in favor? Opposed and carried.
It's interesting, it took 10% of the time of the meeting to actually approve the minutes.
Yeah, well, it's got to be accurate, right? Because this is the only record other than memory. Business arising. I had one item, and that was to do with the infrastructure survey discussion that took place. I've handed that to Fred for decision. But I suspect a slip will not be going into property tax mailing on Friday, asking people to participate in a survey. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to take it to the infrastructure committee and see if anyone's got any tweaks they want to make on it.
Sorry to interrupt. You still can meet the deadline if we get it by next Thursday, because it's just a link now, right? We're not putting the questions in.
Yeah.
So, because we could get it all in the envelope with the link, and as long as it was ready to go. No one will have the property tax bill in their hands until June 1st.
Perfect. Okay.
I don't think that we're going to take advantage of that opportunity because, well, A, it's out of my hands, and B, Fred wants to take it to the IC. So whether a survey goes up or not is another question.
You're talking the Thursday after this coming one, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're a week Thursday. So if it went Monday, and you could fine tune it, because we can put the link in the property tax bill, in as long as it's ready by the time people have it in their hands by June 1st.
Right. We get an IC meeting on Monday.
That's true.
As long as the survey's ready for June 1st.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Will we know the link in advance? We'll have that? Like it won't change? No?
yeah, I mean, there's no survey behind the link, so, and I'm not going to be putting it in there, so it's depends what the IC says.
Yeah.
The question should be.
Yeah, I'll figure something out.
Yeah, okay. Just to bring that to the fore so that everybody knows. So, any other business arising from the minutes of both those meetings? Ron, you usually have something, though. Your memory gets peaked.
I know, right? We've got everything on the covered forward. We're good.
Okay, fine. So we'll move on to unfinished business. Item number 32, nothing's happened. Item number 34, there's a letter that's with staff that I'm waiting some numbers on before bringing it back to council for one last look. Number 38, Peter, what was the follow-up required there?
It was just to notify the teens that due to circumstances they weren't going to have to pay.
Okay.
I didn't actually get around to that, so.
Okay, well, we'll keep it on the list then. The Beach Park letter is out, and I think the deadline for response is when?
This Friday.
Yeah. Okay. So, cannabis policy, Peter?
Yeah, I'll put something together in terms of potential things that council should consider.
such as is not yet covered by the zoning bylaw. TUPS, and this is actually missing secondary suite enforcement report. I know we haven't seen that yet, so that's presumably still on the list.
That's on the run line already.
Firecrackers.
The Canada Infrastructure Plan, I must admit that I meant to go and look up what that was in those minutes, because I don't even remember what the Canada Infrastructure Plan was. I believe that was the Innovation Fund that we were talking about, the deadline for which passed without me having time to produce an application. I am subsequently talking to Melina Mason, councillor at Bowen, who did get their application in. We don't know where it stands. We subsequently met with a consultant based out of Vancouver who produces transit on demand, micro delivery to the driveway service model, selling in Dallas, Houston, a whole bunch of cities in the eastern United States, but can't get transit interested, our TransLink interested, because of labor issues. The union does not want to consider microtransit, which is why I have to tell you now, may as well, that Lions Bay is not in line for the first pilot of microtransit opportunities for those reasons. Instead, it will go to Bowen, because Bowen has a non-unionized independent contractor for their transit. One more disappointment.
Just like Gabriel.
So that was unfortunate, but
Oh, it's some good news.
It's
not-
I mean, it's going to
just
happen.
not ours.
So the guy demonstrated, I think it's done.
What would
It's
you call
done.
it?
Oh, the name of the
The
vehicle?
name of the vehicle. A Gabriel, I
The
call it
whale? I
Gurney.
don't know. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it would be a translate thing. I mean, essentially, it's not any more sophisticated than an iPad in the bus telling the guy where to go next,
Yeah.
and the software handles it from there.
Carl, this is an annual thing. You want to let this one go? 45?
I just want to check that that's what it was.
Okay.
That it was the Innovation Fund, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. I took that opportunity to bring it up. The letter to the Minister of Finance is the same as just reported before, so that's with staff waiting to get some hard numbers checked. And the correspondence to West Taylor was taken care of, so number 47 can come off. Okay, so with that, we'll move on to IRRs. So on page 17.
Mayor, I noticed that there's one of us that's got 37 items on this.
Yeah, okay, so we'll just deal with those right now. None of these were intended to be IRRs. This was a list that I sent to staff as part of my obligations to give general direction on behalf of council. So how these appeared in IRRs, I don't know. Do we want to keep them here or not?
Well, I like that they're recorded. This is good. This is good. So, I'm
Some
presuming...
of, if I may, some of my thinking on this was that there's some good information here that the public can be advised of.
Yeah, I'm concerned that there's some stuff here that's not ready for public dissemination. Some of it's close to confidential. Some of it identifies people, some of it gives airs dirty laundry. It's out in public now, but premature to release this without discussion.
I thought that anything that was sensitive in respect of identifying people or enforcement matters had been shifted to the closed IRR list.
I graded my teeth at least 5 times when I read through this list.
But a lot of this stuff has been previously discussed,
Not in an open meeting,
you know?
no.
Okay.
So there's a lot of things where decisions haven't been made.
Yeah.
And there's a couple in particular where I think council needs to provide staff with some clear direction. We have in particular, and I'll just jump to it, and maybe it's the only one that we need to deal with because it's one where staff requires clear direction, and that would be 163 on the CN lot. We don't have, I read the news that the meeting with CN had gone well, and that's great. It was encouraging, but I know that it still has to go back to their real estate department, And it was those guys that I spoke with that were very tepid at best, to be diplomatic about it. And the suggestion was that they didn't even know if they would be in a position to renew our lease come May of 2019, which was the biggest concern that I had. I agree, if that wasn't a concern, then I completely agree that the lot needs to be fixed up and repaved, and council budgeted for that, but it was budgeted with the premise that we would have an answer from CN as to whether or not we had approvals that we would be able to continue doing what we wanted to do with it. We don't have, worse than that, having to go to them and open up that conversation. Resulted in information that puts us in a precarious position. I mean, I would be loath to recommend to council to go ahead and spend $35,000 some odd dollars to put in drainage and repave the lot and put in fencing if they're not going to renew our lease come May of 2019. Without some assurances in that respect, I think that we're really on very shaky ground. But if council is confident that they're not going to pull the rug out from underneath us, and that we will, whether we can meter it or not is beside the point. As long as we have a long-term assurance that we can continue to use the lot for parking, and that it's not going to be so prohibitive that we won't want to use the lot for parking, then we could go ahead. But I don't know when we're going to get that assurance. I haven't had a chance to contact CN today. I don't know if the mayor has had a chance to follow up. But if council wants to instruct staff to go forward with this regardless of CN approval, then I think we need to have clear direction on that, because my understanding has always been that we need to have CN assurances before we go ahead and spend that kind of money.
Excuse my naivety, but I look at this as we said earlier, this gives people information on what council's working on or what council's done. And if we need to add something to it that says we have not got clarity from CN at this point in time, then we can add that in there. That, like, there's no secret here. This is something we're working on. We're trying to get done. So it's like, okay, what's council been doing? Here's what council's been doing. This one hasn't gone forward because CN hasn't responded to us and we can't get a reply. There's nothing, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, I'm not suggesting that there is.
I just don't think we have to be, some stuff I understand we can't say, but stuff like that, I don't know why we can't.
I'm not aware of anything in here that's ought to be on the closed. I think anything that had to be on the closed is on the closed.
Yeah.
Everything else is just, it's information, it's requests for information, some of it, and some of it we've tried to provide answers to. That should be public information. Some of it is dedication of staff resources, and some of these explanations go to staff's take on those requests for staff resources. So they're all discussion points, and council needs to weigh in on some of these things if there are things that you want us to be doing that we haven't been able to do because of we're doing other things. But
I don't think anybody's pointing any finger. I'm certainly not pointing any fingers here.
Yeah, no, I wasn't suggesting anybody was.
Yeah.
But that was just one that, if we're not going to be dealing with the majority of these tonight, that's one where we kind of need to know what council's position is so that we know, because we can't order paving or start digging up the lot or put in a fence until we know that once we commit, and we're paying cash on the table.
Yeah,
so if we don't have the long-term commitment from CN, then we're putting cash on the table and doing this without those assurances, and that's what I'm concerned about. So I just want clarity.
What's the lead time on asphalting the lot?
asphalting the lot at least a month, and you have to commit. They're not. You
Well,
can't
last time you
schedule.
reported that we needed to have ordered it in January for delivery.
They
It's
started.
awesome.
They started planning their works in the summer. My intent is to go to some of the smaller companies like Alpine Paving, whoever, have them meet on site and do a quote, but at least a month.
Okay, so that's July.
If we have CN.
Yeah.
So
The only implication is that our meeting with CN down at the lot established the lot boundaries. That's all. We didn't talk about the lease. We just wanted to understand where would the fence run.
Well, we did talk. We gave them a copy of the lease.
Yeah.
Um,
They're going to make representations to their real estate people. I can't make any predictions. I'm certainly not going to be drawn on that. What's council's pleasure?
So, what I see is, first of all, do we have a business case to say it's okay to go ahead because we can get the money from parking revenue? I'm not saying we can't, but I'm saying, does it help generate parking revenue for the village? Is there a business case to say that it justifies spending the money with or without the extension of the lease? Or is it going to be, does it have to be dependent upon CN's agreeing to extend the lease?
well, we also need their agreement to put meters on their lot
Yeah, okay,
or
well,
our lot under the terms of the lease.
yeah.
So until we have that, we can't answer that
Yeah.
question as you posed it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I certainly intend to get back to contacting the person that I was dealing with previous. But I think that it would also be helpful to have the mayor contact Jocelyn Young again and see if she's heard anything or has had an opportunity even to put that to the real estate department, or if she's had any feedback at this point in time.
JR, I can send an email.
My suggestion is that, Carl, either we can do it breaks my heart that we can't go ahead, and I suggest that we not spend a bunch of dough without a lease on effect, but we maybe move this to the unfinished business, so it's before us till the cows come home, whether we get the lease or not.
Sure. It's another $25,000, not $35,000 that we budgeted unneeded. I also see that the parking signage is not virtual pay. It actually requires somebody to go and print out a receipt and put it in there. There are things, so I have no real interest in getting pay parking running. I know it's a little stupid to have bylaw officers walking around when there's no parking to enforce. There's no permit signage, so people don't know where that is. There's no pay parking at all, anywhere. So
We
it's all
do
academic.
have an update on meters, and there's a potential to have that installed by this Friday.
Okay, but these are
however,
the non-virtual kind.
the meters that we had last year, notwithstanding that you enter your plate number in the meter to get your ticket, we still requested that people put those tickets on their dash.
Why?
Because the bylaw officers had to look at everybody's vehicle in any event to see if they were residents, other than in the CN lot. And the other aspect of this is that we've had a glitch with the pay by phone issue. And so as it turns out, they require a 3-year commitment and a minimum payment every month of at least $250. And notwithstanding that we have no intention of doing pay parking for 8 months of the year. So we'd be paying that money every single month. So that's a lot of money down the drain that we didn't really have that when council made the resolution to go ahead and go with pay by phone. So unfortunately, that's become a real dilemma. And we've gone back to them and we've asked, can we do 4 months instead? Because that's the only time that we do the meter parking. And we could commit for 3 years, but only for the 4 months. And both ways they said no. They had previously waived their $1,500 setup fee. Provided that, we gave them a 3-year commitment, but we realized that we'd have to be paying $250 a month for 8 months of the year that we have no parking. So that puts a bit of a kink in that plan. So that was another one where we need council to reconsider that and provide staff with direction on our recommendation that at this point it would appear that the only reasonable alternative would be to go with the precise park links. Whoosh is there.
How many people used the virtual pay solution last year again?
Very few.
Yeah, so-
And I expect it would be the same with Whoosh. I expect that if people want to use the pay parking, they will pay with their credit card or with change, and the convenience of using a pay by phone type of option, regardless of which company it is not likely to be one that most people will sign up for or be able to take advantage of, because I presume that council is not going to want us to pay 8 months of the year times $250 for 3 years for nothing. So it is unfortunate. It puts us in a difficult spot, but I think that we showed last year that people will use the meters regardless. They obviously didn't use any pay-by-phone option to any significant extent at all.
Well, that's because it was one that nobody uses.
But it
I am
really
not going to
didn't.
sign up for
Really
a
didn't.
fly-by-night pay-by-phone option that isn't pay-by-phone itself.
It made no
the-
difference in terms of people's ability to use the lots. So they
No,
still
sure.
use the lots.
We're
They
just
still
trying to-
paid. They still paid for parking.
The idea was just to make it a little more convenient to pay.
Yeah. So we don't. Unfortunately, we're not in a position to do that because of the terms of pay by phone, unless council wants to accept those terms.
Yeah, the terms last year were a lot more advantageous, but Peter, this is all below the noise level. I don't think council care. I certainly don't care anymore. I'll be happy if we get anything.
Well, I think we gotta go back to the whole purpose of why we're talking about parking, and that's a controlled parking. We're not trying to make money, we're just trying to make sure people get a fair shake at getting to the beach. So this summer looks like it's gonna be a bust if we don't do something, and I don't think there's any point throwing our hands up and forgetting about it. So if we can come up and hash something together that'll get us by this year, at least we manage the parking at the CN lot for another year. If we don't do anything, it's just going to be helter skelter down there. So I don't really care how we do it. But I certainly don't want to be paying money for when we're not running parking. I mean, that doesn't seem any point.
So I see the critical path as being getting CN's approval for meters and a long-term lease at a rate that we can afford. And secondly, moving forward with the meters. We can have them installed this Friday. We would put a bag over the one at CN lot until such time as we have CN's approval. If we don't get their approval, it stays bagged, or we get Precise to come back and remove it. A couple $100. So, but at least we're ready and they're installed and ready to go, and we can actually start using the other lots, assuming council approves the fee bylaw changes that go to that issue. So if we do those things, if we get the approval, then we can also commit to getting the fence company in, getting the parking lot repaved and relined. But until we have that commitment from them, it's very difficult for us. And it's not like we haven't been trying all year. As I think everybody knows, it's a challenge at best, to be diplomatic, to get anywhere with CN and to get anywhere with them in a timely way. And I've heard it everywhere that I've been, and I've heard it from every other local government with respect to trying to deal with them on things like this. So,
Well, that's because
it's
you
not
insisted on
surprising.
checking in with them, even though we have a lease that allows parking and fire training.
Well, I checked in on them because they had explicitly said if we wanted to charge for parking, if we wanted to put meters in that parking lot, that we had to have their approval and that they would review the cost of our lease and what they were charging and whether it was suitable and whether it was market rate. So we can't just go and say, you know, thumb our noses at a company that is leasing us their land and basically telling them to piss off. We have to deal with them. So we wanted to do it. We had to go, you know, we're a local government. We're a legitimate organization. We have to do things by the book.
Okay, well, so
can't
we
just
haven't
do
done
it
that, so
and
let's
get-
move on. So we will take what parking we can get. I'm glad to see that the signs arrived a week ago. I look forward to seeing some of them go up, especially the ones in the permit zone, so that people understand where their permits apply when the permits arrive on the 1st of June, right, Pam?
Yeah, we have the permits down, they're going out with the
Yeah.
tax.
Would have been nice to see one, just so the council could have actually done the show and tell. So I propose that we don't beat the dead horse on parking. What is going to happen is going to happen, including, so that's taken care of all the way up to 165. Is this an on-table item? Looks great.
I like it.
As I think I said in
I
an
was looking for the scratch paper.
email to you, Ron, the parking lot was full on the weekend.
Yes.
Beach was empty. Lions Bay Avenue was empty. That means the marina needs a letter.
Works manager's got that on tap.
Okay.
So, hang on a sec. And this is a discussion that we should have right now because those photos show that there was no trailers in that parking lot, right?
Right.
And so how do we say to people that you cannot use this if you're going out on your boat? Even though, you know, they obviously park their trailer somewhere else, not on the street, that's great, not in the lot, that's great. How do we distinguish, how do we say to people, you can't use this lot to park your vehicle if you're going out on your boat? Like, how are we going to stop those people from parking?
You're not going
there?
to stop them. They
Pardon
have
me?
to pay. And it shows that the marina demand
Okay, but
outweighs. Nobody will get to use the beach.
we've
because-
always known that the marina had a
Fine, as
lot
long
of
as they pay.
demand on the lot, and they will pay, and that. But it's not about the money making.
problem is-
it's about having the access for the people, for the residents who want to go down there, and for visitors who want to come. Right?
The residents
So-
will park on Lions Bay Avenue. Visitors will park in the lot if there was space, but there's not because it's taken up by the marina. It's unenforced Monday through Friday.
So what I'm getting at, Mr. Mayor, is do you have any suggestions for reducing the amount of traffic in the lot that is strictly marina traffic?
Enforcement Monday through Friday.
Enforcement of what?
The pay parking lot.
And you don't think that they'll still continue to use it? I don't think that's going to change
Sure.
the occupation of the lot.
But at least they will be paying or getting a ticket if they don't, because it's well known that you can park there for nothing from Monday through Friday.
But from Monday through Friday, other than holiday Mondays, do we care? Because it's not
Selective enforcement of
it's
our
not
bylaw.
an issue. Like in terms of having parking availability, the only issues are on the weekends.
I should probably also have said the Park and Ride was full, Southview Avenue was full, even the area next to the notice board just up here was full.
On the weekend,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what you're getting at with the.
Well,
Monday
because
to
the marina
Friday.
the marina lot was full by Thursday evening,
Yeah.
because it was a long weekend.
Yeah.
So the few visitors to the beach, although when I went down there at 9 o'clock on Saturday and Sunday morning, there was nobody on the beach yet. I don't know. I don't know.
I'm just
I don't have any
wondering what
counts, I'm guessing.
Enforcement Monday to Friday, I'm just wondering what that would gain us. How would that assist us?
Managing parking so that people can visit the beach.
But if they pay for the parking, then it's not going to change the occupancy of that lot.
No, but it's going to provide beach parking, not marina parking.
How will it do that? If the boaters get there early to go out in their boats and fill up the lot, and they pay for their spot, what can we do
Okay.
on a weekend? What can we do?
Well, because this is identifiable information about a business in this case, we'll move this discussion into closed.
All right.
So, anything else you need to talk about?
Let's see.
Other than to say, I get the sense that council says that on 163, that's paving the lot, we won't be doing it because we're not secure enough in our lease. So it'll be.
Well, if we get that assurance, then we'll certainly move forward. That's a budgeted item, subject to that.
Peter? 169.
169. So we will add a one of the. We don't have in our budget for a bear-proof garbage can, but we can put in one of the existing strap-type system cans that we do have.
Or we can approve, or if council approves a bear-proof can, we can purchase a bear-proof can.
Well, I mean, that parking lot looks like a garbage dump at the best of times, so clearly we need a garbage can there. The one that's sitting here at the notice board, is that full on a regular basis?
I don't know, I'd have to check this.
Yeah, if we can move one around, so much the better. I do know that people dump the garbage at the Calvin Grove parking lot on a regular basis. We pick it up, but for some reason the punks like to dump their garbage there.
So, barring additional budget for a bear-proof can, we would put the existing plastic type with the straps and put it beside the meter in the Calvin Grove lot.
Fine.
173, we got a quote from Chartwell on reproducing the LiDAR map before 420, just like it was before.
I don't think we do it. Anybody care $420 worth to extend the boundaries of that map?
Well, to show the southern properties and
Yeah, we bought more
And
data
really?
in order to accommodate that property. Council's got superfluous budget. You want to spend 420 on it? No, I'm hearing no.
For me.
So no, we won't do that.
Well, just wait a minute now. If it's an area that we are actively involved with, or we're planning on being actively involved with, or we're looking for planning purposes, it's a good idea. But
It's
if
just
we're not,
that
if
map.
it's
It's just the wall map.
yeah,
We still have the data.
so it does cover areas that are under review and
Yeah.
that we will be looking at and that we will be talking about.
for
Maybe we
special
can
purposes.
move this particular item to close because I do have a couple of other things to say. All right.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
that's good.
I just wanted to bring us back to. No, I can't remember. The Upper Bayview Road. We've had a complaint now from a resident. The pothole is now about 16 inches deep in the road. The one and the other one's about a foot deep. We're just going to wait until we repave Bayview to fix that. It's in the middle of the lane.
No, I have talked to Pam about that. We're gonna engage some contractors to come in and price out wholesale replacement of portions of the road. So,
I'd be loath to pay for that because that water main needs to be replaced.
absolutely, but it's the only way you're gonna fix those alligator areas.
No, not alligator, pothole.
Yeah, we can get the potholes fixed, but
174.
it'll continue to reform in that same location until you properly do it.
The problem with just filling potholes is that you end up with a situation that we're not fixing the problem, and so it's just going to get worse and worse.
They just keep coming back. in the
But
same
they'll come
location.
back worse every time.
So-
That's what happens.
I guess my question would be whether or not it's at a state where it's going to cause damage to vehicles or
Oh,
Or,
it really is.
Well, it's causing damage to infrastructure already. As it gets worse, it will eventually
Yeah.
cause worse and worse damage to the road. So
so,
it's shock loading the road every time it happens.
given the timelines that would be involved with tearing up the whole road and redoing the water main and all
Well,
the rest of it.
we'll do a temporary patch
Right.
with cold mix,
Yeah.
but it's
A
just
proper
gonna keep,
temporary patch, yeah.
keep reforming,
Right.
Yeah.
so.
Okay. Anything else anybody wants to bring to the fore?
So with respect to 182, it's 182 and 187 are tied together. When we had done the sign map that was approved, what we agreed to do was to have towing company signs and to have no parking, you will be towed signs at the gates. There's like 6 or 7 of them where we were going to do that. And we were simply, for consistency's sake, on all the cul-de-sacs, we were simply saying no parking. So with that in mind, I'm looking for clarity in terms of whether or not we stick a towing company sign in every single cul-de-sac. I'm not sure that we need to do that.
Well, they sure as heck are going to want to know where to retrieve their car when it's been towed, because we tow in cul-de-sacs. Even though it doesn't say why, I thought we were having an add-on.
Well,
They're
they're
on the
not
same
signed as fire lanes, and so technically, under our towing policy, we don't tow necessarily in cul-de-sacs.
I
We
thought all
certainly-
cul-de-sacs were going to get an add-on tag, fire lane.
No, that wasn't in
Just at the
the,
gates.
that wasn't in the map. That wasn't,
Okay, well
that was
then
never,
it's moot. And then we certainly will not be towing unless we tell people why.
yeah, and
so-
we're gonna put that information on our website as well, so if somebody looks to see on the website, hey, wonder if it's here, it will be there. But, yeah, I wanted to bring that up, that we hadn't previously agreed to do that, so.
I
Is
thought
that something
we-
that you'd like to discuss changing, or?
In the past, we've had signs up in various areas throughout the village, just saying, towing, like towing company signs.
Yeah, but they're hodgepodge, they're all over the place, in different areas, in different circumstances, there was no rhyme or reason, there was no consistency. So the idea was to have consistency, and that was part of the whole idea of having the map, the sign map that was approved. And they were not on that. The sign map said cul-de-sacs are going to be signed no parking, they're not going to be signed fire lane, and different types of towing signs, hodgepodge here and there, were all going to be taken down, and we were just going to go with the no parking. So I just wanted some clarity in terms of if you'd like to change that and amend the parking map, the parking signage map.
I already said that
And-
about 4, 5, 6 months ago. I sent round signs. We have 3 different kinds of signs down in Calvin Grove. I sent an email saying this is the one that I think works best. I think it is the one that says fire lane, not tow and ticket, and not the graphic of a tow truck.
No, we weren't. But the parking plan, the graphic did not have any towing signs at all. It didn't say fire lane at all. We were going to go with no parking.
Yeah.
But do you want to change it to say, to have the middle sign in a parking in a cul-de-sac say fire lane, and the other ones say no parking? Because if it says fire lane, then yeah, we can tow, and we can put towing company signs out on all those.
Well, I don't want to enforce towing company signs. I think that's just where you pick up your car. That's not an enforceable sign.
No,
it's
but
our
if-
sign that counts. And so my understanding was always that we were going to put fire lane, fire lane, fire lane, fire lane in fire lanes. But if it's just no
No,
parking,
that's not what the parking map showed. That's not what we had talked about.
the original one, yeah. As I say, several
Well, the
months
one that
ago.
was approved in December by council didn't show any of that.
Okay, so no towing, no tow signs. They'll get a ticket for parking in a fire lane.
So
When it's actually a
why
fire
I'm
lane.
bringing it up is to discuss whether or not we should change the map so that the middle sign in a cul-de-sac would say fire lane. And you
I
would
would say all the signs, all the no parking signs in a cul-de-sac and all fire lanes, which are more than just cul-de-sacs, would say fire lane on them, the add-on tag.
Cul-de-sac isn't typical for a fire lane, but if you want to call it a fire lane, that's fine.
Yeah, and it's fire truck turnaround, but that's a bit long for a sign.
Yeah, I'm just used to no parking in all the cul-de-sacs in West.
Well, I mean, if that's standard, let's stick with it.
If it's no parking, you can be towed as well as get a parking ticket. It's just what
Yeah,
your
but-
policy is.
Our policy is not to tow, other than in fire lanes.
Problem.
Well, we could certainly change the policy so that if you're parked in a no parking zone in a cul-de-sac, you're going to get towed. Well, that's a simple amendment of the policy.
In most cases, the cul-de-sac parking is controlled by the fact there's no fire access. That's what the issue is in most
Mhm.
cul-de-sacs. And we have a lot of cul-de-sacs in this village that are like that. So the hard, fast rule is you don't park in the cul-de-sacs. If you do, you're gonna get towed.
There are a lot of residents that use cul-de-sacs to park their vehicles because their driveways are too steep and whatever. So
It
Just-
would be an issue for a lot of people.
No,
We've
I
heard from
understand,
them.
I'm just stating what I know from the past, that's all.
Right.
And, yeah.
Okay, that it? I've got two that I just wanted to ask about. They're not on the list. The outdoor water use sign that's permanently up at Brunswick Beach to level 2. Why is that? Why does that not come down?
the vinyl must have been, the chloroplast white must have been taken off
Yeah,
the sign. It should be covered until June 1st.
I know. It's been uncovered for at least 2 months with the needle pointing to level 2, which, you know, calls into question the whole credibility of the sign.
Haven't noticed.
I hadn't heard anything about it.
Okay, and the day permit design. I sent some suggestions to no response, but I want council to be aware that in the day permit, that's the one that residents give to their guests to park in permit zones, it requires people to fill in their name and phone number on the permit.
Not the resident's phone number, but the person who's parking there.
And who's going to use that information?
Bylaw officer if necessary, but we don't have to have, I mean, we talked about this a little bit. We don't necessarily have to
The
have
current permits, the current guest permits have that information.
Right.
And Susan asked for that information.
Right.
But that's not the design that you had sent. So the design that you had sent, Peter has to review and we'll print those off.
Okay, well, I've got subsequent to that, but I sent those a week ago to no response. So, so those are under consideration?
Well, yeah, Peter is the one who's going to go over them and finalize them.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be very loath to have people's name and phone, whoever they were, name and phone number on a permit. We don't use that information. The bylaw officers have no reason to call that person.
No, I think it was more from reception. They were on the previous passes, so that if somebody called to let you know, hey, your car's in the way or it's blocking something or whatever.
Okay, that consideration is you tow them if they're blocking something. You know.
It's what was on there before and they've asked for it again, so we can remove it.
Okay. Okay, that was just a time critical one because for some reason I thought the bills were going out this Friday, but we've got a little bit of time to play with. When are they actually going out, Pam? Into the mail? Thursday.
May 31st. But we need about 3 days to stuff the envelopes. So basically the deadline was for Friday. So we could print on Monday.
Okay.
And then stuff envelopes Tuesday, Wednesday.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, if I sound a little terse, it's because this stuff's been beaten to death. So I think we can now leave it in staff's hands to accomplish what can be accomplished in what remains of the summer parking season. And for the rest is very little. So let's take a resolution to act accordingly. Motion on that one? In a second? Any further discussion? All in favour, opposed, that carries. And we'll now move on to the check run list on page 25. Anybody got any issues? Flags? Questions? I had one question, Pam, on the multiple radio payments that we see here. So just explain to us how the radios work. We bought them, we lease them no longer. How does it work?
Sorry, which page?
Well, there's on page 29, midway
Ecom-
down, there's
ecom
11.5 for ecom radios.
Ecom radio.
Sorry, I didn't hear, on page 29?
Mhm.
11.5.
Halfway down.
Yeah, a lot of these were the purchases of radios. We got several invoices because we did actually buy them. It's a lease, a 7.5-year lease, but we set it up as TCA, and we have it, it's showing as capital lease on our financial statements.
Yeah, so we
So-
know that, but so we will not be getting those monthly rental.
No, we still get that as well. Yeah, there's two components to it. There's the monthly rental part, and then there's the basically the levy. We're paying for it over 7.5 years.
How much
So
do these
4
radios
times a
cost
year.
each?
Depending on accessories, they were
Six-
six
6K
to
each?
7,000. So it was about 139,000 in total worth of radios for public works and for fire.
Okay, so the
And for the trucks.
radios for Metro and Office, 14,909 on the bottom of page 32. Are those the same ecom radios, or these are different radios?
Yeah, they're the same.
So when I asked Lions Bay SAR, Public Works, and Fire whether they can talk to each other, the answer was no.
Lions Bay SAR Public Works cannot talk to each other. Lions Bay Public Works and Lions Bay Fire can talk to each other, but the rest of the radios can't. Only only the captain's radios and the office EOC radio have multi-channel, so they can talk to the province, to Metro, to whomever. I don't know if that was clear.
Yeah. We spend a lot of money on radios that get used.
Every day.
Yeah, you know, where's the barrel of salt? That can be done with a cell phone from TELUS.
We don't
No.
We don't. Sorry, Fred.
Oh, people can.
We don't provide the staff with cell phones
No, we provide them with $6,000 radios.
for a multitude of reasons. But yes, yeah.
Mm. Okay.
One thing I'm curious about are the radios that the works have the same radios as the fire department?
Yeah, we got them on the same plan.
Oh. The reason I'm asking is the fire department ones are what's called intrinsically safe, so you can go into an explosive atmosphere. Is that necessary for works?
No, they're not. Ours are the same brand of radio, a couple of models down. So they're not the same as the fire. But it was purchased under the same plan with the same model. You get an XE, which is the intrinsically safe, and then you get the regular model, which is what Public Works got.
And different accessories as well.
Yeah.
So the issue between cellular and radio is the fact that radio, you've got communication. Cellular, you don't always have communication in a lot of areas. So that is a very important distinction from where I sit.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for
That's
those-
part of the reason, Jim, because of the intakes and having
Yeah.
staff go up there.
Exactly.
So,
Okay, well that brings into question the cell tower project, but I think we're getting
Well,
an
just
update on that.
one more point. If we've got radio leasing and then other costs associated, we should be able to distinguish between them on the, when I went through the checks, I didn't see I saw ecom, or I saw radios. I didn't necessarily, I looked at the price, I think, well, that must be purchase or lease. I didn't know which it was, though.
There were some that we did purchase outright, but generally the bulk of them were handled under the capital lease.
So they're gonna
So-
recur every,
We'll basically pay for them 4 times a year for 7.5 years is how we're paying for the lease. So you will see those monthly fees.
so
Or
that
sorry, the quarterly
$13,000
fees.
fee here would be
So sorry, which one
Well,
is?
halfway down the page here for
On-
the ecom radios. This is 025282 on January the 26th. Okay, ecom radios, $11,500. So that's going to recur.
Yes,
Every
that's the
quarter?
quarterly, yeah, that's the
Okay.
quarterly to pay for them
Oh.
over the 7.5 years. And we had always paid that before. It was just sort of our contribution to ecom
Yeah.
for dispatch, whereas now we're also paying for the radios, the
Okay, so I just
lease of the
misunderstood
radios.
what you said.
Yeah,
So that's what it is. It's a lease. We're not
Yes.
purchasing. We're just paying for the lease,
that's right.
quarterly payments.
That's right.
Okay.
And after 7.5 years, in most cases, there's still life in the radios, so then we would just continue to keep the radios until we had to enter into a new lease.
Well, I seem to recall the last fire radios we bought lasted 4 years. They were the best things since sliced bread when we got them.
They were second-hand. We've had new fire radios in a long time.
I remember Ecom gave us 2 for free in consideration of another 6 that we bought about 4 years ago.
Was that the time that Ecom changed their radios themselves? They
Yeah.
upgraded to something?
Yeah.
But that's the problem with us having radios on our system, is every time they decide they want to change radios, it's going to cost us a ton.
And that's why it was done this year, because they changed their system. So, and it's across the board. So, West Van, North Van, all the Lower Mainland had to change their radios.
Yeah, we had to change them 4 years ago for the same reason. It's just that, we're being baffled by science, or so they think. But okay, so that's a $137,000 hit that we financed, but it's still money out of our budget. Okay, so not to belabor the point. Gas line installed to the fire trailer, $5,700. What gas and why?
That was to heat it. The previous trailer that burned in the fire had electric heat, and now we have propane heat. So
Why
that
don't we
was
have
the
it?
line
Yeah.
to install it.
Electric heat is a tenth the price.
We couldn't find it. We couldn't get a trailer with electric heat. We really struggled finding a used trailer, and then this one didn't have electric heat. So the decision was made by the fire chief to use. We have propane. We installed a tank. We have a line, and then I'll use the same tank for the burn building.
I'm glad we're rich.
I presume it's a lease tank?
Yes.
I had one more. McRae's Environmental Services, KG Drainage, $3,700. What's that?
I'm sorry, what page?
Well, it's on page 30, second from the bottom.
Was a collapsed culvert at the cul-de-sac at
Yes.
Calvin Grove that was resulting in flooding. So McRae's Vector truck came out, vacuumed out the culvert, and we did the dig to repair it.
That's what a vac truck costs.
Pretty much, yeah.
Drop charge plus an hour's work. Okay. The one recommendation I
drop charge plus an hour's work?
Yeah.
It wasn't an hour's work. It took almost all day.
Okay, still expensive. Returns of building permit deposits. I would suggest we don't display people's names.
Okay.
Even though the check is written to them, I understand where it comes from. But I think in a public report, I don't think it's anybody's business. Okay, anybody else?
Yeah, bridge inspection was done.
Load rating report was finalized probably about 3 weeks ago. I'm still waiting for the maintenance report.
Thank you, so that'll go to the IC.
I see.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
once I've voted.
Okay, motion to receive this report and second. Any further discussion? All in favour? Opposed? Carries. And the second staff report, NIBE Lions Bay Beach Park update.
So the sod's been in, the beach logs were removed, the sand was put in. The log boom was not put in. There was an understanding on our part that Rob would have it in by Thursday, Friday. That did not happen. So I'm not sure what the reason was, but I presume it's because they were busy. So
Since I was standing there as he was in angst trying to get it in, his coworker didn't turn up, and they were trying to get the other large vessels out, which were blocking the whole way.
okay.
So he was not a happy camper, so goodwill, good intentions, but they're still not out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had it scheduled, so. Just going through your questions, Ron. The billboard, as far as I know, we're waiting for Russ to come up with a design, his sketch, so that we can put that onto a billboard. No float. I've just talked about that.
I
So,
don't think we're gonna deal with the last item, in camera.
yeah.
Okay, is that it?
No, the only other question is the shower. So when I brought forward the shower to the council meeting, and we talked about $4,000 expenditure, that shower was from Australia. And that includes $1,000 or $800 some odd for shipping. I did try to source a local shower. I did talk to some purchasing agents for other municipalities, and most of those showers are built internally by staff. There isn't really a company that makes them. I did find one company that makes them, but they're more for residential poolside showers. So the most skookum shower is the one from Australia. So I need to know if I should go ahead and order it, or if staff should try and fabricate something, or what the deal. How do you want me to proceed?
So it's 4 all in?
4 is all in delivery.
Council?
Oh, new Goldberg's no longer alive, that's what really awesome.
Well, the public is going to be okay with us ordering a FedEx for $800 Australian shower because we don't make beach showers in North America.
I could spend more time calling other purchasing agents and sourcing that, but my time is going to be eaten up.
It's not worth your time. I'd rather get some parking signs up.
This was your design.
Yeah, before I realized it came from Australia for $800.
I did bring it up at the meeting.
We did know what it would cost then.
Yeah, cost is not a problem. I thought that was sourced from California where they have beaches. So, I mean, it's just optics. It's your baby.
Recommend resolution.
Okay, it's a motion on the table. Is a second. Any discussion? Ready for the question? All in favour? Unopposed? That carries.
Thank you.
Nothing from the mayor, nothing from council, nothing from committees. Am I right in all saying all of those things?
On the council, you and I are going to meet with the people from Furry Creek sometime in the next month.
Sure, just for a general confab, see what's going on there, what could potentially be going on here.
Yep.
Sounds good.
That's it.
Okay. Thanks. Page 37 is the police report. It appears to be impossible to get them to drop the terminology within the jurisdiction of Lions Bay. That is apparently required by legislation. Meaning, that was pretty much the, I won't go into personal details, but essentially, they're not going to change it.
You're close to these people. What is other?
Not allowed to know.
Not allowed to know.
We don't know. That's not classified.
Okay.
It's just
So-
not picked up in the computer system.
That's what the
other-
cop, when the
yeah.
cop decides he doesn't want to decide, he just puts other.
It's like a traffic ticket, they'll have other on the traffic ticket
Okay.
as well.
Like when he loses your father-in-law's passport. And then comes up some cock and bull story that has to be sent back to the Home Office.
No, spilt coffee on it in the coffee shop.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Shredded along with some criminal record or something. Yeah.
I move to accept.
Thank you. Second. Any further discussion? All in favour? Opposed? That carries. We have a few resolutions in front of us. Just the backstory on this. Fred and Ron know that we saw 2 presentations at the Household Community Forum where they asked for member councils to make resolutions as laid out here. The first was that they are concerned that when councils turn over in October, that they still want a representative from each jurisdiction on the Ocean Watch Task Force. That's what I currently do now. It's probably typically the mayor's purview, but probably anybody who's interested. They meet once a month and they talk. They're essentially the execution arm of Household Community Forum. Current project being the Marine Assessment Guide that has now been funded by the Moore Foundation and the Suzuki Foundation and one other foundation to the tune of $280,000 that's now underway, for example. So my recommendation is that we resolve that we provide representation to the task force after the local election this October. And I'll make that motion. Anybody care to second that one? Thanks, that's a second. Any further discussion? Fred?
As I read through this earlier, I was just thinking, like, I agree in principle, but should we be resolving the council send a representative to it after the election, or maybe it should be resolved that council recommends providing representation, because who knows who's going to be sitting at this table then.
Yeah, there's a bit of a chicken and egg thing, isn't it?
But I have no problem that we would recommend that the
Well, we
next
can't recommend to a future council. Well, I guess we can.
Mhm.
That this council recommends to future council. Yeah, all right. That council table a recommendation, file a recommendation, lodge a recommendation.
Council recommends.
Yeah, what I put on sort of my chicken notes here, be it resolved that this council recommends providing representation to the task force after the local election.
Okay, that's great. I'll consider that a friendly amendment, so no future motion, no further motion in second. Any further discussion on the motion as amended? Did you get it, Shauna?
That council recommends providing representation to the task force after the local election this October.
Ocean Watch Task Force, sorry.
Ocean Watch.
Ocean Watch, one word. Okay, ready for the question? All in favour? Opposed? That carries. And then the second one is similar vein, except that the Clean Air Society sort of ran out of steam. I either never attended or couldn't make the meetings that there were. There were meetings sort of annually, not very often at all. 2 meetings I had a conflict with Metro meetings, and one either I missed the invitation or never got it. I think it's important because How Sound's airshed is not covered by the Fraser Valley airshed, which is the Metro thing. It's a different airshed altogether. Nobody is looking out for our air quality, certainly not Squamish-Lillooet Regional District, certainly not Sunshine Coast, as you can tell from the smoke coming back up around from Gambio. Every time I call them on that, they say, well, our stack emissions are meeting our permit. I said, what about the ambient air? The sound is filling up with your smoke, Mr. House on Pulp and Paper. He says, well, our stack effluents are meeting permit. That's all they care about, not ambient. So somebody needs to be looking out for our air quality, and it's these guys. It's sort of a bit of an ad hoc group, and so as the 3 of us saw at the House Sound Community Forum, he was very pragmatic about it. He said, look, he's quite happy to do it, but he needs guidance. And these are the 3 things he wants us to choose from. So, how do we want to handle this? I mean, my recommendation is option 1. That we actually put a little bit of meat into it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think number 3 is not.
I think that's a bad option.
That's a bad option. Number 2 is it's fuzzy, and we'd be taking on a bigger deal here.
I would agree. I think that number 1 is most
I think we need to get some skin in the game. So there may be I don't want to say we're binding the next council, because the council is an ongoing body. It's just council is resolving. That a body is established. So shall we make a motion to the extent that council support the Sea to Sky Clean Air Society's activities by establishing a roundtable, endorsing establishing a roundtable of government, corporate, and citizen appointees to meet periodically and determine the scope of actions to be undertaken. All good on that one?
Yeah.
That's
By
some.
Endorsing Chase's establishment.
No, endorsing the establishment of. Yeah. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion already for the question? In favour? And opposed? That carries. Okay. I'm on the agenda. Bylaws. I think we all know what this is. This were just some tweaks to the ones that we gave first, second, and third reading to last time and adopted in the special meeting. So these are just further ones coming, right, Peter?
Yeah.
Okay. So the first is on page 39, and the changes are available to us in the consolidation. There was only one other thing, and that was I suggested we needed a new category of replacing a parking decal that somebody brought in, that presumably somebody else had tried to peel off their vehicle, thinking that they would get themselves a parking permit, to discover that it was tamper evident, and the legitimate owner brought in the back part and said, can I get a new one? But I mean, you certainly don't want to charge them $40 for it, but I think we can probably just say they can get a free replacement, right? Rather than put it in the fee schedule.
Yeah, I mean, we've always dealt with people on an ad hoc basis in terms of replacement for legitimate purposes of
Yeah.
parking passes, so we would simply continue to do so.
Yeah, I would hate for some visitor to peel off the front part and say, hey, look, my sticker came off, and get one, but I guess we'll have a procedure for that. Okay, so that's what we see in front of us. This is first, second, and third reading. Everybody good with what they see in front of them? It's fairly minor housekeeping.
One question I've got on schedule 10, it's not being remembered, but on page 61 of 122, it's talking about boat space rental permit. Is it clear what a boat is? Is a boat a kayak, a board, and a dinghy? Because at one time, there was one charge for a kayak, but a dinghy would get a double fee because it was wider. Do we not have that anymore?
I'd have to look and check. I think it'd be covered under, have to be covered under the park bylaw, which established the actual ability to charge a fee. This is just the implementation of that fee.
I don't remember seeing any dinghies in the rent.
No,
We just have
No,
one
it's just-
fee now, right?
it just, I think all we've got is kayaks and canoes are the problem, right? Because they're bigger, and stand-up paddleboards, which shouldn't be an issue. But
So the new raft is narrower in each space now, is it?
No, it's not that we're looking at the existing rack, right?
Oh, okay.
So I don't know that we have any dinghies. So are we precluded from charging a double for a dinghy if somebody wanted to? Not that we've had any requests, and there aren't any dinghies up there.
what we're
And
renting
we
is
want
what we're
people launching dinghies through the beach park.
What we're renting is a space, not a boat. So it's a boat space. So
If you
the
wanna
definition
rent
of boat is almost superfluous. Yeah, it's the space that we're renting.
We
So.
just have the one fee, yeah, regardless of what you put in.
Well, the current rack is sort of self-limiting because it's an opening yay wide. The new design is going to be just arms. So in theory, I suppose, if you can get your boat on, and I presume you'll have some short arms and some long ones. No sense in having an arm 3 feet long for a paddleboard.
No, well, I mean, we can design that, but our thought was canoes, kayaks, and paddleboards. And the
Well-
paddleboards will be on vertical, so the canoe and the kayaks would be the same width.
They only need to be just over half the width, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
unless they're put this way around, of course.
Mhm.
Yeah, anyway, I'll let you worry about the details. Yeah, okay, so, yeah, as Peter says, it's space, not a...
Great.
Okay, so we need a motion and a second to do first, second, and third on this guy. Thanks, and a second. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? I will call the question. All in favour? Opposed, and that carries. Are we going to need? We're not going to need a special meeting for this one. This will just come in the next go round. Okay, and then same again for the traffic and parking bylaw number 413 of 2009. I probably should have read all that stuff beforehand, but anyway, we'll take it as read. This is again first, second, and third.
Quick skinny, if you go to page 73 of 122 is the only amendment.
Yeah, but I have one or two questions about the way that we've numbered these things. And sometimes it's 7A and B and 8, 1, 2, 3. Is there a reason for the difference?
No, that's the way it was done in 2009.
Okay,
I
well,
didn't get into changing it. I don't know why it's like that. I hadn't.
we can fix it
specifically
now,
noticed.
because we can do first, second, 3 as amended.
Yeah, we could. Change it to 8A, B, C, D.
Well, just consistent, I don't mind
Yeah.
which one it is, as long as it's one of them.
Yeah.
And the fee schedule is now removed because that was in error on the amendment bylaw. My other question was on the consolidation cover page, on page 68, Peter. Bylaw number 385 precedes bylaw number 413. How is it that it appears on this list in that case?
I'm not sure. Have to go back and look. Not sure why that's there. I think that's probably an error. Because 385, if I'm not mistaken, is the bylaw notice enforcement bylaw.
Yeah, so it's not actually the parking bylaw itself. Although I'm sure it refers to this bylaw. But maybe you
Yeah,
can fix that as part of the amendments.
And it's penalties applicable under section 34.
Yeah, but it precedes the bylaw itself, so.
Yeah, okay, but it may be that what we're talking about here is bylaw 385
As amended.
As amended.
Yeah, okay.
So-
Yeah, that makes sense. That's
Yeah.
fine. Maybe you want to say there,
Yeah, because it
Whatever,
says,
something.
yeah, so, because we've explicitly put in section 34, amended by bylaw 385,
Yeah, there's
and
something here.
that wasn't previously done. So, yeah, so
Okay.
it must be as amended.
fine, okay, so you can fix that as necessary. So, let me just make sure that I didn't flag anything else.
The other thing the other change is on page 71, which talks about a traffic control device, and I've added the words, which may include an online or digital device, just to be clear.
Yeah. Okay. We saw this already. This was just to clear up that spurious edition of the schedule, which crept in. So can I get a motion on this one, first, second, and third? Thanks. And a second. It's been moved and seconded. Any? Yep.
Was that as amended to change?
As amended, yeah.
Because there's various places where we've got the section number followed
Yeah.
by a subsection which is a numeral as opposed to a letter.
All subsections to be made consistent.
Okay.
Whether it's your choice. I think in other bylaws we do the numbers.
I prefer to go with the letters as set out in most of the sections.
Fine. It's definitely more understandable. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. All in favour, as amended, this is, and opposed? That carries. And correspondence, Ron,
Thank you.
do your worst.
PG 1 of 122, G1 Asset Management, no response. It's been approved for. We've received $15,000. Or will receive. It's now in staff's hand to execute and confirm the requirements met. Econ Board of Directors appointment, that's Walton, which we recommended, no response.
There's the letter from Ecom. Can you please tell them that I am coming on the day? I think it's the third paragraph. They explicitly require somebody to tell them.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. G3, the upcoming FCM agenda. This is information on microcell.
Well, it didn't make it onto the FCM agenda,
Okay.
and we get 15 pages to tell us that.
There we go. So, broader implication of Bill C-45. I found it fascinating information, although I think it's there's no response, but I think the information should have a wider circulation than what we do at this table.
Exactly. I don't believe this is a municipality's business. I'm not in the business of holding people's hands, that's for sure. So,
Well, there we go. It's
Do you want us to put something in the village update?
No.
With a link?
no, that would be the ultimate nanny state thing. I thought about that, and
well, that's where I was going, and actually I wrote it down, and I also don't feel like I'm holding people's hands. I just found it an informative piece.
yeah, it's just interesting. People need to read the newspaper.
Okay, then I'm done. On that one, Mr. Dickinson, you've responded, and I believe that given that he opened the word with the term moronic in his thing and you didn't copy it, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Motion to receive correspondence with decided actions, which in today's case is none. And a second. All in favour? Opposed? That carries. There's no new business. And public questions and comments? One day. And now a motion to close under 91A, B, E, and J, please. And a second. Any discussion? All in favour? Opposed? That carries. Let's close the meeting. Okay, we're resuming the council meeting at 9:47. One item to report out is that in this Friday's village update, a piece will be provided on an update to the community on the current status of the Clean Water Wastewater Phase 1 project. Suffice to say for now that the project is going to be rebid, details to follow on Friday. And with that, if that adequately reflects what we said we'd say, yeah? Nothing further to report out from the closed session other than matters were discussed pertaining to the reasons for closing. And with that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. And a second, all in favour, opposed, carried. Thank you.